talk filthy.
Can we talk about how long this Playboi Carti music album rollout has been?
We know that he has an extended history of lying to his fans.
This man Carti somehow pulls off a 1-week album rollout.
The internet is full of speculations, rumors, and lies from fake rollouts, canceled tours, and fake social media hype. But how did we get here? Jordan Terrell Carter was born on September 13, 1996 in Atlanta, Georgia. He grew up in Riverdale in a financially disadvantaged family, facing a lot of struggle when he was young, shaping him along the way. He would quickly pick up an interest in music, listening to artists like Prince, Michael Jackson, R. Kelly, and Gucci Mane. He went to North Springs Charter High School in Sandy Springs and would follow a pretty average career, skipping classes to work at H&M in retail, as well as experiment and practice making music in the group he was in at the time. In an interview with Complex, he said that growing up nobody could tell him shit, developing a very reckless lifestyle, swaying far away from the idea of pursuing a higher level of education after high school. He was different to a lot of people around him. His fashion sense was always unique, shopping in thrift stores and always adopting new styles very early on. Jordan would try basketball and train to be an NBA player before he wanted to do music. He adopted the name Sir Cartier in 2012 and would release some of his early works. He would delete everything a year later after signing to Awful Records, a local underground label. Despite all of this, he would still end up graduating high school, which was surprising to a lot of people around him. Around this time, he knew that he wanted to pursue music, so he changed his pseudonym to Playboi Carti and would move to New York to pursue music. He stayed at his drug dealer's house, and many people would always stop by, including various A$AP Mob members. Carti would be introduced to A$AP Rocky through A$AP Bari. Around the same time, he would release the singles Broke Boy and Fetty on SoundCloud in 2015, attracting more and more attention online. His sound would quickly develop into a very melodic and emotion-driven sound without much lyrical meaning. This style of music was mostly unheard of and hated among most mainstream music fans at the time. Carti would quickly make connections in Atlanta's underground rap scene, collaborating with artists like Uno the Activist, Lil Yachty, and producers like Ethereal, eventually becoming friends with A$AP Ferg and Lil Uzi Vert, going on tour with them shortly after. All of these connections would make him a well-known rapper in the Atlanta music scene, and would eventually sign a deal with Interscope Records.
29 a little bit.
In 2016, he was featured on A$AP Mob's single Telephone Calls from their album Cozy Tapes, Volume 1, Friends. That same year, Carti signed to A$AP Worldwide Greatness Entertainment. This was perfect for him, as it brought attention to his name, just enough to release his self-titled debut mixtape in April of 2017. Major publications such as XXL, Pitchfork, Spin, and Hot New Hip Hop would quickly write about the mixtape, propelling it to number 12 on the Billboard 200. The mixtape contained his two smash hits at the time, Magnolia and Woke Up Like This, both charting in the Billboard Top 100. Accompanying the mixtape's release, Carti would go on tour with Dreezy and Gucci Mane 2 months later. XXL would end up having him in the 2017 freshman class, alongside XXXTentacion, A Boogie with a Hoodie, and Ugly God. The mixtape would be a massive success for Carti, building a name for himself outside of SoundCloud, making him seen to a lot more people. He would start featuring alongside big names in the industry like Lana Del Rey on Summer Bummer, and would work again with A$AP Mob on their single, Raf, from their album Cozy Tapes, Volume 2, Too Cozy, peaking at number 6. Carti would take a small break from music and pursue his other interests. GQ would praise him for being the leader of a youth style, being inspired by Kanye West and A$AP Rocky. He would partake in many modeling events and model for Louis Vuitton at Paris Fashion Week, Kanye West at Yeezy Season 5, VFILES, and Drake's OVO Lookbook, alongside Ian Connor, who played a key role in Carti's success thus far, helping him build his network. However, not everything was going well. That same year, Playboi Carti would be arrested for domestic charges involving his girlfriend at the time. He would somehow always land in controversy throughout his entire career, getting arrested again in 2018 for drug and gun charges, as well as punching a driver during a concert in Scotland. Surprisingly, every controversy he would be in would pass just as quickly as it came, not really impacting his reputation. If anything, controversy is an important part of his career and persona. That same year, he would release his debut full-length studio album, Die Lit, peaking at number 3 on the Billboard 200 this time, selling 61,000 copies first week, more than double his last release. This was a major success for Carti, going on a US tour to celebrate. It seemed like with every concert, Carti's stage presence was getting better and better. It also helped that he was a pioneer in rage and trap music, and it seemed like nobody could do it better. But it wouldn't come without hate. Complex would call his style of rapping spare and repetitive. Pitchfork would say that Carti's music is less about lyricism and more about atmosphere. More and more traditional rap fans would call him a mumble rapper. Despite all of this, only a few months later, around the end of his Die Lit tour, Carti would announce his second studio album, Whole Lotta Red, and start an almost never-ending wait for his fans. Although he announced it in August of 2018, he would only start working on it later that year. He would go through many versions of the album, scrapping almost every single one. Songs would start to leak endlessly, such as the song Kid Cudi, which would go number 1 on Spotify, despite being released on an unofficial page. Playboi Carti's popularity would continue to skyrocket, regardless of how active he was. Over a period of 2 years, he would be mostly inactive, only appearing on features like Baguettes in the Face with Nav and A Boogie, breakout hit Earthquake with Tyler the Creator, Pain 1993 on Drake's project, and Flex Up with Future and Lil Yachty. Being mysterious would slowly become part of his persona, creating hype without doing much, until eventually, in 2020, he would release At Me, a single that still had the same baby voice everyone knew. However, the reception to the song was negative, making Carti have to pivot, until eventually on Christmas Day that same year, he would drop Whole Lotta Red.
Pull out the switch, hit him real quick. He gotta go, lay him on the dick. We in the side, back in the
It was something completely different than anything prior. He embraced a vampire aesthetic, taking inspiration from vampire movies. As expected, the album would go number 1, selling 100,000 copies first week. But the immediate reception to the album was very negative, getting trashed on Twitter with the hashtag Whole Lotta Trash trending everywhere. Carti would go on IG Live and quickly end the live after everyone was clowning on him. However, as time passed, the album started to grow on everyone, slowly becoming one of, if not the most influential album of its time. He would start his King Vamp tour and would showcase performances even better than anything prior, building a name for himself as a performer. He would start headlining above mainstream artists on every major festival like Rolling Loud, and for a good reason. This would mark his breakthrough into the mainstream, doubling his popularity with an album once again. This would also mark the start of Opium, his record label. He would go on to sign artists like Ken Carson, Homicide Gang, and Destroy Lonely, all of which would make waves of their own in the industry. This strategy of being silent for years would show to work extremely well, so he would go silent again. From 2020 until 2023, he would tease fake albums, tours, and start hundreds of rumors about fake collaborations and rollouts. He would feature on Kanye West's Donda album, on songs like Off the Grid. He would get arrested again multiple times, once for a felony assault charge on his girlfriend at the time, Iggy Azalea, possession of marijuana and firearms, and expired vehicle tags, all of which would end with a release on bond shortly after. Eventually, Carti would start performing unreleased songs at festivals and tease his next album called Music. It's speculated to feature Carti's deeper voice style with heavy guitar influence as seen in his feature on Travis Scott's Utopia on Fiend. His monthly listeners on Spotify would skyrocket past artists he was compared to, even though he wouldn't drop any new music. He would come back to social media and announce the Antagonist Tour alongside the entire Opium label. It finally seems like he's back, ready to drop as he's been performing the same songs for 3 years now. Ken Carson's heavily anticipated album, A Great Chaos, would be delayed due to label problems, supposedly so Carti can start his rollout. Tour dates would also be pushed back, and finally, after the leak of popular Grail Killers, Carti would call into a radio station with Swamp Izzo and announce his first single, releasing on the 15th of September, with the album coming sometime in September or October of 2023. 2 days prior to this, on Carti's birthday, he would get the whole of Opium to a warehouse and post the location online. He would preview collaborations with artists like Lil Uzi Vert and Travis Scott. However, as we've seen countless times, the song to be released on radio was a lie. There is no way of actually knowing Carti's plans, so all the fans can do is wait now. His strategy would continue to work, blowing up without having to do much. Through this, Playboi Carti has solidified himself as one of the biggest artists of our generation, inspiring millions of people to be themselves.
I tell the young niggas like this, like, look, man, like, until you find them, just keep doing you, you know, they always watching.
Exactly,
you know,
keep doing you,
keep
fam.
doing you. The drip is inside you, it's not, you know what I mean, it's within you. It's not about what you wear, it's how you hold yourself, young nigga, how you walk that shit, how you talk that shit. So keep doing that shit.